Pugh. That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the gold sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Hello, Cherries fans. Bournemouth went down 1-0 at home to 10-man Brentford today in a performance where the home side were humbled, really. I've got to say that we didn't deserve it. You can see the stats, they're damning. Brentford had so many shots on goal as opposed to AFC Bournemouth, who, 2, 3 maybe? It wasn't a good performance, but if we're going to have a bad performance, it's better to do it now rather than in a few games' time. Whether any of the teams will have taken anything from it, given the fact that we would probably meet them in the final, who knows? We'll chat to a few people who will talk to us more about it. First we've got in is Morgan Scott, who we'll bring in now. Morgan, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Excellent, good to see. Now, Morgan, just like everyone else, got involved by clicking that link, as you can see at the top of the screen, afcbpodcast.com/take part. We'll also pop it in chat as well if you want to join us. And it's just a case of waiting, and we'll bring you into the room as soon as we can. If you're a debutant, you're more than welcome to get involved. What I'll do, Morgan, is also bring in John Spark at the same time. John, how you doing?
All right, Morgan. Pretty fuming still. It's just gonna need to calm down a bit, I think, after the last 70 minutes of that performance, I think. Okay,
I'll let you have a few minutes to compose yourselves, because I'll speak to Morgan first. But also Daniel's here as well in Florida. Daniel, good morning to you. How are you?
Good.
Good. Right, okay, Morgan, then let's start with you. 1-0 to the Bees over the Cherries. They outplayed us at times, and Bournemouth just not up to the races, were they?
They weren't, and to be honest with you, I was saying it throughout your show with Jeff on the watch-along on why do we leave it so late to bring Sam Surridge on? Every opportunity Sam Surridge is given, he comes on and he gives everything that he wants to. He provides goals. Yes, he might not, score 20, 30 goals a season, but you get a workhorse from Sam Surridge, and I just don't understand why you give him 10, 11 minutes at the end against a well-packed Brentford defence that aren't going to allow anything. I don't want to focus too much on the negative. By all means, it wasn't a great performance at all. But as you say, Sam, in your introduction, if we're going to have a bad game, we need to do it now. Get it out of our system, and then we try again. From now on in, we go again. We got two more cup final, and then we've got the playoffs, and then again their cup final, and we carry on. It gets a little bit boring. But when I spoke to Jonathan Woodgate, I had the opportunity to meet him in the flesh, if you don't mind me mentioning, on Thursday. And I said to him, are we going back to the Premier League? And he said, one game at a time, mate, one game at a time. And it sounds a little bit like you do get carried away, but it's a mindset that you need to have, that it's still a way away. And yeah.
Yeah, I've spoke about this before, but a couple of seasons ago when Aston Villa got promoted, they had this run like we did. I think theirs was even longer, 9 or 10 wins in a row. But at the end of the season, they slightly slipped up with a loss and also a draw. But ultimately, what that did, that enabled them to refocus, and then they got through to the Premier League. And look, they're still there now, and hopefully we can be doing the same as them. But John, do you think either side can really take much out of that? I mean, with Brentford, do you think that win today does give them a psychological advantage if we meet them again, which we're probably likely to do?
Well, I mean, there's definitely an element of that, certainly if they play us, because let's not forget that they beat us at their patch as well. So they've taken 6 points off us this season. So, there's definitely going to be some element of psychological battle, particularly if by some reason, which I don't think it will, we play them in the semi-finals. I think it's more likely that it would be in the finals were we to get past through the semis. But I do think a lot of people, I've seen it online, I see it in the comments here, a lot of people are picking on Wilshere instead of Pearson as the thing. And I really think that's completely missing the point. The issue was that Dan Juma wasn't involved in the game. And with Stanislas, we might as well have been playing with 10 men in the way that Stanislas was involved in that match. So, like, you cut essentially half of our front four, and you're going to completely nullify us. And the thing is Brentford knew exactly how to set up against us, and fair play to their right wing back, who had an incredible game against Danjuma, completely nullified him. And Danjuma does like to stay in the wide position, and that defender just made sure he was in his face constantly and prevented him from cutting inside at all cases. And admittedly, he had one or two chances to cross the ball in. He's just not as effective on, hitting the byline as he is cutting inside. Genius Stanislas, well, I think I was in the minority last time when you asked me the question, Stanislas or Brooks, and I think I'm very much at that performance has pulled everyone onto my side, saying Brooks instead of Stanislas after that game. But it's it's that combination, and then I do think when it goes down to 10 men, what the difference was in this game compared to Norwich is that, it was an early red card, obviously, but we didn't do a lot at the end of the first half after going down to 10 men, after being a man up against Norwich. But at half time, there was clearly something that Jonathan Woodgate was able to sit the players down, get his instructions across and say, this is how we're going to play. Tell Sam Surridge, this is what I want you to do, even if he had really very few impacts on the game apart from the goal. And just tell, calm down, make sure you play it right, keep doing exactly what we're doing, and just be that player. But when we went down to 10 men, we had even less influence on the game than before they lost their man. It was like they just didn't know what to do with themselves. And I think part of that is because Billing was taken off. It just shows how important he is as a fulcrum to the side, because Junior Stanislas just kept dropping deep when he wasn't getting the ball, clearly not getting into good positions to receive the pass. And Wilshere and Lerma just kept looking up and just obviously didn't have the right pass. And I think at some point it should have been Pearson off earlier, but then Pearson on for Wilshere earlier. But with Surridge obviously coming on for Stanislas. But I just think that I said in the past two free-for-alls, I was looking at this match as being the test for Woodgate. Does he have the in-game management? Does he have the tactical nous? And can he get enough out of this team to be the other good side that will probably play in the playoffs in Brentford? And not only do I look at it as, particularly with Wilshere for Surridge, that change when we're defending our own corner, which ultimately leads to the goal, which is, a cardinal sin of management to make a change when you're defending your own corner. You look at Ivan Toney telling the management, don't take me off, we're defending a corner. Although I think it was probably actually because there was an injured player. But he knows, just don't make that same mistake. And then after that, having one midfielder and 5 strikers on the pitch is this isn't FIFA. You can't just do that and expect the ball to go in when we produce basically no crosses. I would love to see our stats for touches in opposition penalty box, because ours would have been pretty pathetic. And Brentford took 6 shots from inside our box over the game. It's just, it was, in the end, it was a failing. Unfortunately, it was a fail mark for Woodgate, but it was also a fail mark for the players. They've got to look at themselves and say, we didn't do anything in that game, particularly when they went down to 10 men. And I hope that really is, like you said with Aston Villa, that's the point at which hopefully they'll sit down and go, right, okay, we're not invincible here. We've been great, but we're not perfect by any means. And this was the first real test, and they didn't pass it. So I've got no worries that we'll still do fine in the playoffs, but that does put doubt in my mind. And I would hope that the team themselves go, right, reset, let's make sure that we've got our best squad together, and really attack the playoffs like we did in the first 20 minutes of the game, because we attacked the first 20 minutes brilliantly, and then I don't know what happened, to be honest.
The stats though, John, are damning, really. Not only did they win the game, but the amount of shots they had compared to us was scary. And if they can do that with 10 men for the majority of the game, well, no, actually, when did the guy get sent off? Can't even remember.
That was 50th minute.
Oh, so. Yeah, 50. Well, a big chunk of the game. It's so there's 46. It's half the game pretty much, because there was 6 minutes of injury time, 46 minutes. If they can do that with 10 men, what can they do with 11?
I'll let Morgan answer. He clearly wants to get back involved in the conversation.
Yeah, go on, Morgan.
I was just going to
put your way.
I was just going to say something completely different for half a second. Remember that little situation where was it Dom through to Junior Stanislas for anyone wanting to know?
Yeah.
But what I don't know if you saw, Sam. Stanislas could have flipped it back into the and Solanke might have had a chance. It could have been a little pass, and then would Dom have had a better opportunity? Maybe.
The funny thing
about that, yeah.
The funny thing with that is the fact that if Stanislas wasn't involved in the game, Dominic Solanke comes onto his own through ball and he finished. And I'm pretty confident he tucks that away, or at least has a shot. It's and I think as much as
Brooksy would have finished it off. That's David Brooks.
Brooksy would have been on his weaker foot if he comes onto it in that regard. So it's a little bit different. But I still think, like, Dominic is there. Like, if Junior doesn't stand in the way, Dominic comes onto that and he takes one touch and shoots. It's unfortunate really for Junior because he loses his footing and he hits it into his own foot. But yeah, I think I don't know. You can look back at the changes. You can look at Rico coming in for Kelly. I personally think Rico had probably one of his best games for us. Unfortunately he switched off for Ivan Toney to come in, and that was a big moment for him to switch off for Toney to get in for the goal. But apart from that, I thought he was actually very good. But the amount of times I saw him up on the pitch and looking to put a ball in the box, and a similar thing with Smith and Stacey, just no crosses seem to come in. It's one of the few things about one thing that Jonathan Woodgate has implemented is being more direct at times, getting the ball into the box, making actual opportunities. Stats on SofaScore are 1 cross out of 12. I don't remember putting us 9 of those crosses in. I don't know how many crosses we put in today, but I thought Brentford was so direct in terms of not like hoofing it long, but just playing it up the pitch fast. And the one thing we just did not do. Cheers, Carl. That's actually less than I thought Brentford would have had, but Brentford had for half the game. It's like that's what kind of stats does that show as to how good Bournemouth were at working into the final third? Just all about possession and absolutely nothing about territory. It was all about territory for Brentford. They got into positions. When they got up the pitch, they just shot. I mean, it was 11 shots in the first half, 3 on target for Brentford. We produced 1 and none on target. Nice. And the only shot on target we had in open play after the Junior Stanislas slip was there wasn't one. Actually, shot blocked. So it's like you're right in terms of like you can look at it and worry a bit as to what we might do against another team like a Barnsley who will play even more direct, who will be even more in our face, even more aggressive. It's just that for some reason the players didn't kick up themselves up the backside and say, look, they're down to a man. All we need to do is pass the ball quickly. That's what you need to do. Against 10 men, you pass the ball quickly, you shift it from side to side, do exactly the same thing you did against Norwich, just with a couple of different players, and you'll get the win. But they just stopped on the ball, and that might be the difference between Wilshere and Pearson, but it's not like Lerma wasn't sat on the ball at times as well. I just feel as though Jonathan Wood made odd substitutions, and I think the players themselves didn't help the case either. It was very disappointing, but it's not the end of the world at all. We're still comfortably going to be in the playoffs. We just need to just reset and pick ourselves back up again for whatever for Wickham, then for Stoke, and whoever we end up going into the playoffs.
Yeah, Daniel, what did you think when you saw the starting lineup today? Because 4 changes, some of which were enforced anyway. But how did you feel when you saw that lineup today? Did you feel enthusiastic?
I was already disappointed because in the back of the net video, I said 2-1 Brooks for the mug. And I already got that. That kind of got me kind of upset when I didn't see Brooks on. So then the thing that was questioning me, why was Smith starting even though we know Stacey is more faster, that Stacey could have helped us way more than Smith can. Smith, in the Huddersfield game, he was struggling, and there's players in Brentford can do it even worse. And I was really kind of like, why would you do that? Stacey could have made a big impact, but that kind of disappointed me. And then Jack Wilshere, it's like a thing because the middle of the game, I can see why we need Pearson because they're very rough, but I don't know. It's just Jack's not how he used to play when we had him on loan a long time ago. I feel like he's way different now.
He's certainly a different player. These are the stats then from today's game. So we had more possession. It didn't feel like it, but when you look at those shots, I mean that's absolutely scary. Shots on target there, 6-1. These are BBC stats, by the way. They had more corners and more fouls as well. I don't know. I just feel a little bit negative because, whilst it wasn't the best performance, John, I just wonder what that means for momentum now.
Look, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not great, and it was, as much as John Goodman was pissing me off a lot on commentary, with particularly Stanislas's pronunciation.
Oh my God, don't.
Yeah, he did mention not long after Brentford Janssen got sent off, they say that basically it's a free shot for Brentford, and it doesn't really matter what happens with them. It's all about what Bournemouth do in terms of the mental consequences. Because if Brentford lose, it doesn't matter. They went down to 10 men. They played well for 50 minutes, and you carry on. But with Bournemouth, if Bournemouth don't win, they have the knowledge that they were against 10 men for 40 minutes and weren't able to put this over the line. But it's even worse. It's not just they didn't win; it's that they lost. And that's and unfortunately, unlike the last few weeks, it's not like you can immediately go back into the next game and just turn it and just suddenly get back into it and amend that. I think it was interesting. Again, you got to look at the first 20 minutes and how well we played in those initial periods, how much we pressed. And I think Wilshere was a part of that as well, winning quite a few balls in their third early on, and then having less of an impact as the match went on. But, Danjuma was getting into good positions. Junior was in acres of space at times. But Brentford, I think, noticed the problems and sorted them out mid-game as they were playing, tightened themselves up, and just made sure that they weren't as open to let Bournemouth play. And it completely nullified us. So what I would like, John Woodgate to do is just to try and get the players to have a look and think back through, and just try and get them to start thinking for themselves in game, because I don't think they did. I think they just were hoping something would happen and letting other people, try and get things working. And he made, Morgan was right in terms of Sam Surridge should have been on much earlier, because you've got to look at how we played against Norwich and the fact that Surridge made an instant impact. But even once Surridge came on, he had 3 touches in the game in 13 minutes. We just didn't get the ball up front. We didn't cross the ball quickly enough. The amount of times Stacey's available on the right, Rico's on the left, and the ball just doesn't get delivered. It's just, you're not going to get a goal if you don't put it in the box or get at least close. And I'm making the same points again now, really, to be honest. But I just wonder why the players can't just decide that for themselves, and make an impact.
Brilliant. John, thanks so much for coming on today, mate. Really appreciate your views.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks very much. And Daniel, just before we say goodbye to you, changes then ahead of the next game. Is it a case of Pearson coming back in? Is it a case of Brooks for Stanislas again?
It's a very it's Wickham, so we don't need to put a lot of play. But there's something I learned yesterday in when Mark Pugh was talking yesterday. He was saying it doesn't matter the rest of players because they're still going to be training. So that made me think that it doesn't really matter who we place because they're still going to be training a lot. And I really want to see Sam. It's just I feel like he can do it. And in the Norwich game, he made a really big impact. And I feel like no manager has ever seen that. And if we don't get promoted this season, I feel like half of our players are going to go. And then he might be our main man. And then people are going to be like, why would we not play him when we had a chance to play him? But I feel like he can play.
Brilliant, Daniel. Thanks very much for coming on.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Daniel. See you later. Morgan, closing comments from you, buddy?
Well, I understand what people have been saying, but I don't think we should lose too much heart. We just come off we just won 7 games out of 7. It would have been nice to keep it going, but if you're going to slip up in football, you have to do it at a time that's not important. And today, although we could have confirmed our playoff place, I think without being disrespectful with Wycombe and Stoke, I think we'll definitely get at least 4 points out of 6 from them. So we're pretty safe in terms of going into the playoffs. One thing I would like to say before I go, if Millwall do manage to beat Watford today, do Watford definitely get to go up, or is there a way that anyone can overtake them?
Brentford, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'll check that out.
But
we'll put the tables up.
Just a final point, just a shout out to Asmir Begovic for the season. Without Asmir Begovic, there's no chance. We're not in the playoffs. We're not even, well, God knows, without Asmir. Again today, he made 2-3 outstanding saves, and he gets the man of the match because I don't think many players were much better than Asmir today. But Bournemouth fans, don't get down because it's been a pretty good end to the season, hopefully. And Sam, you watch along with Jeff was brilliant. I know we lost, but they're not with Tom and that they're 100%. So Jeff, don't worry about that one. So I reckon if you get Tom on for the final 2, we're going to the Premier League. And if you want
that's what I talk about. Morgan, thanks very much. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks very much indeed. Have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you. We've got Robert from AFC Bournemouth Latvia here. Hello, mate. How are you? One shot on target.
One shot on target. Are you mad? What was that?
Bad, isn't it?
I was so confused. We got only one shot. I was like, the game started. We played really, really bad. Gotta be honest. We played really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, we had like this moment with Stanislas through on goal. His feet seemed
to, and he misses.
I don't know how wet the pitch was, but he seemed to slip up and then blazed it over, and that sort of set the tone for the rest of the game. Because Brentford, credit to them, they looked a quality side,
they
really well disciplined, and even with 10 men, you've got to say they deserve the win. We're a really good side.
Yeah. When we played, I was hoping that we will play good, because after that Norwich game, I was thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna score an early goal, then we are gonna score, we're gonna win them 3-0, and we're gonna play really, really good. Actually, no, we played pretty bad, and when they got a red card, I was about to think, oh yeah, it's the same thing with Norwich. We are about to score 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, but that didn't happen. We just continued to play really bad. And we conceded, and we played. I mean, credit to them. They play really, really good. There's no way there's gonna be someone that will say, oh yeah, they played really bad. I mean, maybe at the end of the game, maybe the 80th minute, maybe they played pretty bad, but the whole game they played really good. Like,
let's see what John's got to say. John's here with us now. All right, John, how are you?
All right. Yeah, I'm okay actually, Sam. I can take that today.
Hang on, John. After the last game, you came on, and I mean, yes, you did apologise, but you're almost sort of in a period of reflection by the sounds of it now, and you're looking back over the 7 wins, thinking actually that was pretty good, and maybe psychologically we need this to not maybe rest on our laurels a bit. So maybe it's a good thing that will give us a kick up the bum ahead of the next few games. Well, 5 games left of the season if we're going to get promoted.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, Sam. I didn't actually ask, how are you both? You okay?
I'm doing well, mate. Doing well.
Good. Yeah, I like how Morgan left it. I like how he left the positivity there, and I feel like, yeah, we have got credit in the bank. I mean, had those 7 wins in a row come earlier in the season, we may be having a really bad slip up now. Whereas I think 1 loss isn't dreadful. And Brentford, although you could say, well, Brentford only picked up draws, didn't they, recently? But they were the team that turned up today with their game plan. They clearly executed it. I saw briefly what Ivan Toney had to say after the game, and he said like they took their chances and he felt they deserved to win, and I agree. Look, we weren't on it today, but I'd rather this happens now than we say we won today, we beat Stoke, we beat Wycombe. Imagine how saddened we'd be if then we suddenly had a slip up in like the semis. And I think this is a good time for Woodgate to get into the lads and kind of regroup them and get that winning mentality back, because we know we've got it. We know we've dispatched 7 teams before this. So yeah, whilst it was disappointing to watch, it was still enjoyable in some ways because I did a watch along as well. And shout out to James Reed as well. I know he's probably watching this.
Yeah,
and he came on at the end. He asked me to link the StreamYard, so I did that, and we had this big smile. And I said, James, you know we didn't win, but he was just as happy as ever. So it's
bring
great.
him in now.
James Reed, here, bring him in.
James Reed standing by now. James, hello mate.
James.
You all right? How are you, James? You good?
Yeah.
Shame we didn't win today,
Good
but
lads.
are Bournemouth still going to get promoted, James?
Yeah.
I hope so. Right.
Come
So
on.
it was 1-0 today to Brentford. You went for 5-1 last time. So next week we're playing Wickham. We got a week's break, which is good. Can you type in a chat prediction for me for Bournemouth v Wickham on Saturday? Remember, it's at Adams Park. They're scrapping for points. It might not be as close as you think. He's put the chat on now. What's he going to put?
4-1.
He's gone for a 4-1. He's gone for a 4-1. John, are we going to beat Wickham 4-1?
Well, we beat Millwall 4-1, and
Hedgehog from Brooks.
I think perhaps today it was like a natural sort of layoff. It's kind of like we've seen with Norwich lately.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we beat them, Watford beat them, and I'm thinking they're going to come back and beat QPR and beat Norwich again today. But like I say, I think it's weird that I'm not obviously really negative because obviously I'm disappointed with a loss. But on the same breath, I just feel I'd rather this happen now where we've got a week as well, haven't we? Because both games are on a Saturday. So
you sometimes need that little kick, I think. And we haven't had that so far. And I think, we've been so good. And look, let's not forget that back in 2003, I think it was, when we got promoted at the Millennium Stadium against Lincoln, we beat them 5-2. Towards the end of that campaign, we lost to Lincoln, the same team we played in the final. So I think we lost 1-0, as someone said in chat. I can't remember where it was. It's gone a bit further back. So maybe it's a good thing. Robert, Jack Wilshere, how do you think he did today? Because a lot of people have been mentioning him.
Like you said in a game, when the game was happening, you said like he enjoys to play as like defensively. He loves to help the team defensively, but like he really loves to play like attackingly. But today he cannot play that because like today we had to play him he had to play like defensively because we had Phillips on top. We had like those players on top, and he cannot play. I mean, Wilshere. I mean, I don't think he's. I mean, maybe we should play. Maybe we should play the next game with Pearson. I mean, I'm not saying like Jack is really really bad, but we have to save those players. Let's play like some academy players because it's not really that of a big deal. We are still 100. I think 100% we are getting in the promotion. And actually, I was hoping we will win this game and Watford will lose and we can get in that second place. But I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen. But still, I mean, yeah, Jack Grealish. I mean, he's a good player, but I mean, we should save him up for the playoffs, I guess. Maybe let's not play Phillips. Let's not play like those players that will help us. Like, I don't know. I mean, I said Stanislas out, but like, let's not play Stanislas. Let's not play like Diego Rico. Let's not play like those players. Let's just save them up for playoffs because they can get injured.
Agreed. There's loads of people standing by. All of a sudden, the room's just filled right up. So, Robert, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. Nice to see your face again.
Cool,
Cheers,
thank you. See you, man.
See you later.
Take it easy.
He's a legend. I love him, man. He's so good. Closing thoughts then, John, before we switch up?
Closing thoughts, just kind of basically everything I've said already. Obviously, as a fan, I'm disappointed with a loss, but I feel we've got credit in the bank from 7 wins. That really shot us up and secured, because I think playoffs is secured now, isn't it? Reading, we're on equal points, but the goal difference basically blows them out of the water. So I feel we do turn up on the big occasions as well, and we're obviously going to see Brentford again. And yeah, they've had the better of us in both games, but then we are Bournemouth in that we do seem to turn up for the big games. So anything can happen. Yeah. It's not over. I think Brentford fully deserved their win. I'm not going to give a man of the match to us, but I will give it to Ivan Toney because that lad was really fantastic for Brentford today.
Yeah. Don't say that. Kirk's going to be licking his lips.
No, it's not nice to say, but I can't give a man of the match to anyone today, particularly.
All right, mate.
So I'm giving it to Brentford. Yeah, but look, we're going to come back, and I hope you're all well. Everyone in the chat, hope you're all doing well. Life's good for you all, and keep the positivity and up the cherries. See you again, guys.
Cherries, John, legend. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Mate. Search AFCB John for that. James, thanks for coming on, mate. See you later. Take care. If it's 4-1 next week, mate, I'm telling you now, I'm just going to give you a mug. If it's 4-1, I'm going to give you a mug. Don't even have to get the score right. Fair play, mate. Right. James, thanks very much for coming on. Let's do a switcheroo. Keefy T. Hello, mate.
Captain. I want to thank my family first for letting me come out and do a quick podcast with you guys.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Simon's here too. Simon, you all right?
I'm all right. I love your chair, Sam. Hi, Keith.
Hello, mate.
You look as though you caught the sun, Simon.
Yeah, that was golf with Damien earlier in the week.
Oh,
he had me on the golf course. Yeah. So that's 2 games of golf. That's with Kirk and Hensman. I've played golf, and now I've had a game with Damien. So if anyone else wants to set one up, I'm always good for a swing about. I'm not very good, but I'll give it a go.
Not very good. Yeah. I've heard those stories. James is here as well. James Musselwhite. James, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you guys? You're right.
Fresh trim, James.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Oh, hey, what? Say again.
Like you had a fresh
trim. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've had a little first haircut since September, so that's why I'm on this podcast, just to show it off.
Just a model yourself. Keefy T, who's not been to the barbers for a while, by the looks of it. Keefy. What were your thoughts on that, mate? It was, I thought well, look, I mean, I did the watch along with Jeff, and I found it quite difficult to do. I didn't find it enjoyable whatsoever. No. What do you think? Hearing it or seeing it?
Hearing it. Brentford have just given us a lesson in what we can expect if we do go up to the Premiership. They play an aggressive, high 3-4-3. Didn't look defensive to me, how they play it. They look to want to score goals. They smother the play that we were trying to do. I mean, Denjuma was just marked out the game. And, it's sobering because they have shown that if you play that way as well, and that's something, as I say, a lot of Premiership teams will be deploying against us, you can demolish teams. You can see why they're high scoring as well. But no, they just didn't allow us to get into our game today. They had their game plan and they were right on it from word go. And it shows in their red card. They're very, very aggressive attacking team.
Yeah. Steve, you're a bandit. And also Brentford were bandits as well today. Sorry, did I say Steve? Simon, you're a bandit.
You got confused by his message coming up, didn't you? That's fine.
I did, yeah.
You're an amazing host. You're allowed the odd thing here and there, Sam. The first thing to say is the season's not defined by this one performance, and there's a lot of crap that's gone before it. Excuse my French. However, I've often been the first person to question our team's mentality in moments of difficulty, and also in moments when you've got to put your foot down and grab the opposition by the proverbials and have a proper bloody go. That aside, the good news is that we know our best starting 11, and there's no doubt about it what that best starting 11 is, and that 11 has played recent games. I wouldn't have played Wilshere, I would have played Pearson, and through that first phase of the game, outside of the first 15 or so minutes, I began to miss Pearson because of his movement management with regards to how the opposition play and how he reads it. So that was frustrating. My only man of the match would be Begovic because, again, he made saves at important times. But we move on. We are going to be in the playoffs. We do have credit in the bank. I just do worry about those key moments if we go behind, if things aren't going to plan, whether we've got that extra gear in our heads to go, let's go grab this.
And look, next week, James, we play Wickham next week, who they could be relegated by that point in time. We don't know. But as Simon said, mentality could be a thing. So there's probably not a better team to play, maybe, than a team that could already be relegated by that point already. For instance, if we had a run-in such as Watford's, I mean, they've got a pretty harsh run-in where they're playing a lot of the top six. It's just kind of good that we're not playing another big side next, and hopefully that confidence and momentum or whatever it is that we've lost can be regained, hopefully in some style next weekend, maybe.
I think also maybe use the opportunity that we missed in this game to maybe play some players who haven't had much match time all season. There's been players on that bench who've barely seen the pitch, and I felt today that there was an opportunity where they went down to 10 men and it's still 0-0, that we could have tinkered with the substitutions to bring on some of the players like Anthony, like Riquelme, like Kilkenny, just to give them a run out against a team that's going to be in that playoffs with us. Absurd results, going to one side. I thought massive credit to Brentford today. I thought they were first class, and the fact is, I mean, Keith alluded to it, that they came with their plan and stuck to it. I felt they changed it. I felt they had their plan, and then when the red card came along, they changed it again. And they were effective in their change, and they affected a win. They showed how to manage a game with 10 men, which Norwich last week were complaining that you couldn't do. I found it so difficult to understand our changes in the second half. We ended up with Cook in the middle of midfield with Pearson, like four wingers. I think Surridge was playing as a winger at one point, like for 15 minutes at the end of the game. Big target man stuck out on the right hand side. Yeah. It just seemed like a bit of a mess, and that to me was a bit of a red flag today. Like, not the result, but the manner of the result, and the manner of the fact that we've said taking the game by the scruff of the neck, but just being intelligent with the changes to the system and intelligent with the substitutions to try and manage the game, a little bit better. I'd rather lose to Brentford now than lose to Brentford in 4 or 5 games' time. So let's just hope we've got that loss out of the way.
He makes some good points there, Keith, doesn't he?
Absolutely spot on, isn't he? He's always is, James. There was some. I'm not against playing Surridge as a wide target man, but you've got to have delivery coming in from the opposite side. But it was helter-skelter, a little bit of panic. Indecision perhaps on the coaching bench. Do we rest players? What do we do? And that's something we got to, and I'm sure they'll look at going forward. But you've got to say again that Brentford, Thomas Frank, how he's not linked with bigger clubs, I have no idea. I just like his aggressiveness, how he sets out his teams. As I say, he plays a 3-4-3, but he plays it properly, and it's aggressive. Tommy is a delightful player. So I think they came out here to put a marker on us, and we didn't respond. So there are red flags, but it's a tournament. We've got to take it one step at a time. It's not a disaster for us by any stretch of imagination. It's a learning experience. We need to learn from this game and then take it on. And I actually think we need to be consistent now, rather than people saying, "Oh, we'll play the kids for the Wickham game and get some game time in." For sure, during a game, but you've got to get that first 11 in, because, as I say, each game tournament, and it sets us up for the next game going forward.
Yeah, Simon. There are 5 games to go if we're going to be doing this. 5 games to go. Are we going to do it?
Well, we've got as good a chance as anybody else. I mean, it's a tournament format and anything can happen. I'm not going to say we're the best team in it. I think that's just wrong, because it is one of those things where the best team on the day will beat the other team. And one of the biggest things like that is, one of the things in today's game that I couldn't quite figure out, apart from the first 15 or so minutes, is what result do we actually want out of this game? Are we playing that we don't want to lose because we want a point to be guaranteed in the playoffs, even though our goal difference is brilliant? It was a kind of like a really weird, lack of flow and respect, obviously, as James says, to Brentford and how they set up. But we should be able to do better than we were doing. Did we want to win that game? or did we not want to win that game? You know, I joked on Kirk's thing yesterday and I put a comment on, come on, Brentford, let's get Watford back down in the playoffs just for a giggle. You know, just kind of as an alternative scenario, just for a laugh. But I was concerned as to whether or not we knew, other than the first 15 or so minutes, what we wanted from that game.
Yeah, James. Yeah, I mean, what's your response to that?
I'm not sure. I mean, it did. I'm not sure how to respond to that. I mean, I think the team always is set up to win games. I think with and like you say, to lay a marker against a potential playoff, rival. I think we've got Swansea's number. I think we've got Barnsley's number over 2 legs. Well, I've said all season I'm worried about Brentford either over 2 legs or in a one-off game. I think they'll do us personally, and that's why when you said can we even do it in the playoffs, I think we can do 2 of the 3 teams. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's going to be tough. 1 game maybe, but over 2 games they seem to have this professionalism to potentially be able to shut us out. But let's not end on a negative. Let's end on a positive. Diego Rico in the sunshine with his Mediterranean sort of smugness, his aggression was a gorgeous sight to behold in the afternoon. And but the most gorgeous sight, of course, was Pearson coming on as a substitute, like a shaggy dog with a big bottle of water over the top of his head, shaking it all off in the sunshine. I wanted that in 4K, UHD, slow motion. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. If nothing else, we're pretty.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, James. Really appreciate it.
All right, mate. Take care.
Brilliant, James.
Cheers, Keefy T. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, mate. And also Simon K.
Take care. Loving you.
Beautiful. Thank you. My camera's a bit dodged today, so I might have to move position. In the meantime, I'm going to bring in Kirk here. Kirk Tovey, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
I'm going to be coming off air shortly, so you might have to just hold the fort for 5 minutes. If only you had experience doing this YouTube stuff, Kirk. If only you did.
Yeah, it would help, wouldn't it?
my camera, I think I need to sit somewhere else in this place. Cool. We've also got Neil Whedon here. Neil, you right?
Yeah, sort of, I suppose.
Sort of. Aaron's here as well. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
And also, 5 ways, because I'm going to duck out for a bit. Andrew Roper is here as well. Andrew, how are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks, Sam.
Kirk, I'll let you lead the discussion before I change location. And firstly, though, Kirk, just give me your analysis on what you saw today.
We really want to play Brentford over 1 game in a shootout at Wembley? I'm not sure. No, I think I'd rather give them a game over 2 legs and give us 100 minutes to try and work it out. I'm not sure if it was the changes, too many changes. I can understand why he's maybe changed it, and I am fearful of certain people getting injured. But yeah, I mean, Neil, when you saw that lineup, what was your thinking when certain players came in, the fullbacks and Junior Stanislas?
Oh, it felt like going back 7 games, didn't it? Stanislas on the right. How many times have we said he hasn't been effective there all season? I thought we'd decided that Smithy wasn't our number 1 right back, but although he didn't play too bad, he's a niggly player, isn't he? And he kind of fits well into a game against a team like Brentford. But I don't know. It was very, very frustrating, wasn't it, to watch things coming back that we haven't seen for a while, like hitting the first man every time from a bloody free kick. How often I've noted that, tweeted it, talked about it, punched the TV about it. I don't know. This season, it's just been ridiculous. And that short corner that we had, which ended up as a Brentford chance after about 10 seconds. I don't get it.
Oh, sorry, Neil.
Sorry.
If we can flip that into a positive, Neil, is that although Rico gave the ball away for the short corner, he tracked 100 yards to try and win it back. I'll give him that. Andrew, from one performance against Millwall where we played them off the park, triangles, movement, flair, to today looking quite static, basic, lack of movement, lack of clinicality, shall we say, that back of the net like to use. 2 different performances over 4 days. I'll move that over to you, Aaron. I think Andrew's just frozen.
I was going to say that's what Andrew thinks about it. There's nothing to say.
Oh, he's back. Did you
Sorry.
get that? Did you
I lost
get
my
that?
Sorry, Kurt. What was the question?
Okay, so the question was 2 performances. Millwall, we were fluid, lots of movement, exciting to watch, flair, creativity, to today. And like Neil says, we've seen it before this season, static, lacked clinicality, as back of the net like to say. Just very poor going forward.
I mean, so I missed the first half, but I was watching the second half, and I couldn't quite believe what I was watching. I said to my son, "Is that Steve Cook? Where's Steve Cook?" And we looked, and he was kind of playing number 9. We were just hoofing the ball up to Steve Cook, and we haven't got the sort of tallest guys anyway. It was a bit baffling. But I did think today we kind of, I think Simon said earlier, kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. We didn't quite know what we wanted from the game. I think it was right to make changes. I think that was a good decision, but I think it showed there was Stanislas there and no Brooks, and Wilshere said if Pearson wasn't our best 11, and it showed, and they were great. I thought Brentford, fair play. They looked like how we did against Watford. They looked pumped. You see Ivan Toney at the end, he was pumping his fist. They looked really like they wanted to lay a mark. And I think, look, if you're going to lose, today was not a bad game to lose, but we were poor. It was disappointing. It was a bit clueless second half, I have to say.
If we go back to QPR, Aaron, I think that's when Woodgate pretty much changed it, and he decided from then that he was going to go with 11/10 players, maybe week in, week out, that he was going to trust. And we had that under Eddie Howe in 2014-15. I know you've said, Aaron, that you're worried since we sort of guaranteed the playoffs with that goal difference, that you want these games out of the way and you just want to get into the playoffs, because now Woodgate's got things that he's got to think about that he probably hasn't thought about in the last 7.
Yeah, I wasn't at all surprised with how today went. As I said, in an ideal world, the playoffs would have started after the Millwall game. These 3 games are going to be like treading water in a way for us. We can't get automatic. We can't drop out. What do we do? Do we keep the momentum? Do we keep the first 11? Do we risk injuries? Do we give minutes to people like Stan who haven't played, to Jack who haven't played, which is what he went for today? And I agree with Andrew. I definitely think it was right to rotate today, because it wasn't a meaningful game in the true sense of the word, that we had to get a result today. So there's going to be things which we might see over the next couple of weeks. Another thing which I think is important to point out is that we played on Wednesday night and now Saturday lunchtime. So that's nearly less than 2.5 days in between games. Brentford had an extra day. So what we do have now before the Wycombe game is a whole week, then another week to Stoke, and then another 9 days to the first leg. So from that point of view, we might now then decide, Woodgate might decide we're going to play the first 11 against Wycombe, the first 11 against Stoke, and go back in and wrestle back some momentum. Or he might think, Arnie played the full 90 today, let's give him a rest this time. And Billing, he'll start, and Pearson will come on. And so, yeah, it's very tricky, and it's why we're not the managers and they're paid to be the managers and make these decisions. Because for me, even before the game today, I had this feeling. I sat with my boys and I said, I'm not nervous. I don't feel nervous, because this game it doesn't mean anything. And if Brentford want to celebrate like they won the league at the end of the game, let them celebrate. Let them celebrate. And if I was Jonathan Woodgate, I'd play them that before we play them in the playoff final and say, look, they've done a double over you. They think you've got your number. Now let's win the game that actually means something. Because it felt to me today that it meant more to Brentford than it did to us. And I think in our heads, we've gone on such a fantastic run and put so much effort in that it didn't just feel like job done. It is job done, right? It is job done from where we were. We have gotten to the playoffs. And I think subconsciously in the players' heads, they felt it's job done. We don't want to get injured. We don't want to give Brentford everything that we've got, because we're going to play them again in a far more meaningful match. And that showed on a pitch. And yes, it's disappointing. I was frustrated, but was I furious and angry? No, I really wasn't. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even feel that bad now about it.
I've got one more question before I hand Sam back his own show. Neil, some records
I'm putting my feet up here. You chill out.
Some records have gone now, Neil. So Eddie Howe's got the 8 wins in a row. He's kept that in his pocket, and the back of the net watch-alongs record has gone now. So is that a good reset? Because the likelihood that we had gone and win 13 matches in a row is highly unlikely. So is it almost a reset that the pressure's off now and we can lose that whole we've won 7 games in a row, Neil?
Definitely.
Look, we can beat any team in the division. So I don't think having
except Brentford.
One apart from Brentford with 10 men, of course. So I don't think that however many we win in a row really means a great deal, because I know it's a cliche, but you just concentrate on the next game. And if we know what our best lineup is and we want to go out and win a football match, we put our best team in place and we win that game. Now, I don't think it really matters if you haven't won for 3 games or if you've won 5 in a row, because especially with the momentum of winning a few games, you need to put your best team out. And the way we're set up at the moment, if we have to have Jack Wilshere in the side, as much as I love Jack as a player, he's obviously very talented and very skillful, but you're going to have to build a team around him. And because he appears very limited in what he can do and the amount he can move. And therefore, you're building a team around a defensive midfielder. And that's not a good look, is it?
Yeah, great points. And Kirk, you got experience of this. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. And before we go, Kirk, I mean, are we going to do it? Because it's probably going to be us v Brentford in the final. Let's be fair, because one of us is going to finish 3rd, and none of us are going to finish 6th. So therefore, we're probably going to play them in the final. If that happens, will we have enough? And is that more favourable to you, playing them in a 1-leg match in a neutral game rather than a 2-legged thing?
Yeah, and I'll come to that in just one moment, but I want to make this final point for the final time this season, right? Ivan Toney has just shown you what a number 9 striker is today, okay? And when I say I love Dom Solanke and he's a brilliant player, but why I've been comparing them all season is purely what you've seen today. The effort, the issues he caused our centre-backs, how much of an attack he was in that box, assists, goals he was trying to score, should have probably had one today if he had got better connections on it, but a proper number 9 there. And we've got a good player in Dom Solanke, but if he was in our team, we would have gone up automatics. I'm convinced of that. But that's my final thing on Toney. I've talked about Toney a lot this season. So that's that. Brentford, you know me, Sam. I've said this to you off air, on air, weeks and weeks and weeks ago. I really don't want them on a one-off shootout at Wembley. I think we can beat any team in this league on our day. I'm not saying we can't beat them. I just think it's more delicately balanced. I think you give me Swansea, I'm quite calm about it. You give me Barnsley, I'm quite calm about it. I know we lost 3-2 at home, but I'm quite calm. But I think it's a toss of a coin with Brentford, because it could hinder on a mistake, which we know we've got in our team. It could hinder on a decision by a referee, because they have got talent in that team. And we've got talent, but I'd rather give us 180 minutes for us to beat them. So, it's not done and dusted. Like Aaron says, that is a different team that will probably start against them in the playoffs if we play them in the final. But, these are problems now. We're seeing a Woodgate now that is going to have to deal with this beyond this year if he stays in control. He's had it quite easy for 7 games. He's picked the same team. He's just gone, you're my 11, week in, week out. He's now got an issue because he's like, do I play him because I don't want him to get injured? Do I not play him? Do I move this player? Do I try and give him some minutes? He's trying to man manage now. And we lost the game through him trying to man manage a situation. So he's done a brilliant job, but this is where we've got to be a little bit open-minded beyond if we get to the Premier League.
Yeah, very good points, Kirk. Thanks so much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Sam.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you also to Neil Weedham for coming in. Cheers, Neil.
Cheers, Sam. Yeah, speak to you soon, mate.
Yeah, will do, buddy. And Aaron and Andrew, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Up the Cherries.
See you soon.
Up the Cherries. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And what we're going to do is bring in Liam, Jeremy and Steve. Having picture issues my end. I think it's just a connection more than anything. Jeremy's here, Steve's here, and also Liam here. You know what? Shall I add Filippo as well? Let's do it as well. Let's go 5 ways. Going all around the world here today. Jeremy in North Carolina. How are you, sir? Did you watch that?
I did watch it. I appreciate it. Good to see Steve and Filippo and Liam. Man, we got the international
See you,
connection
Jeremy.
here. I did watch it. I was very impressed with Brentford. I thought from a size, speed, quality perspective, I really don't want to play them again. I was kind of hoping Watford would lose a few games and Brentford would jump them in the automatics and we would get Watford. My take on today's game, I think we lost it in the midfield. I thought Lerma really struggled today. He missed so many connection passes, just bad decisions. I thought Wilshere struggled. That's where the game was lost. They really abused our midfielders, and they started getting on the front foot, and we just never could seem to get control. And a few times we made a few plays here and there, but we did not look like the team coming in on a winning streak. And so, but I was impressed with Brentford. Tip your cap to those guys. They looked really good. And I don't want to play them again.
No. Steve, thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, we a little bit frustrated, really. I feel like we've I think Jonathan's made a bit of an error there, in my opinion. I think he's changed it too much, which he sort of made that decision early on in his tenure, and it didn't work back then. And he switched back to this settled team, and then we change it again, and quite a few changes today. And we had Stan playing out of position again. The midfield thing for me, like Jeremy's just said, I think Pearson, you really miss him when he's not there, and then we saw it again today. Unfortunately, I think what's the concerning thing is we had the momentum coming into this game. They didn't. They'd been on a poor run. Lots of draws, I believe. I think they hadn't won in sort of, was it 7 or 8 games? Quite a lot of draws. And have we just given them potential playoff finalists that we could be coming up against? Have we now kick-started their momentum? That's just a concern I have. Oh, he's disappeared. You've gone, Sam.
I haven't now. There we go.
There you
Sorry,
are.
I was just
He's back.
playing around with the camera. Filippo, what are your thoughts about what Steve said? Have we handed them a psychological advantage now?
Yeah, today was poor because we all knew that it was a tough game, and also we knew that the team would have been tired. I saw a team tired and poor by the effort they shown in their 7 consecutive wins. Because we must remember that we made the first win was before the international break, but the other 6 we made the other 6 in the space of 20 days. So glad that midweek matches are over, but today was today I didn't expect to have only one chance in the first half, when Junior Stanislas put wide that really good team play, and also didn't expect no chances and no shots on goal after the red card. But they see it simply. Brentford simply wanted it more, and they've got the goal and they won the game. Fair play to them.
Why did Brentford want it more, Steve? Why, did they have, have they got more reason to win than we have? Because, I presume they've still got one eye on hoping that Watford will slip up, maybe. But other than that, there's nothing in it for them, apart from to finish third.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they could be still with an outside chance. I think it's a bit of a pipe dream, but they could have one eye on that second place. They've got to have a lot of things go for them, though, haven't they? So for that to happen, I think they've sort of, we know that it's going to be us, them, Swansea, Barnsley by the looks of it. And I think it is a psychological thing. I think it's to get them back on track, to get the edge over us, because I think they think we're going to be their biggest threat, basically. And they have done that. And that's why I think they wanted it more today. I just think they wanted that edge over us going into the playoffs. I mean, Jonathan made some really funny decisions, I thought, during that game in second half when they went down to 10 men. I mean, I don't understand why he didn't just go to the 4-4-2 and bring Sam Surridge on like he did against Norwich. It seemed to work well then. Why not do that again? He didn't do that. I mean, and then we get to the goal, and we were all over the show, absolutely all over. I mean, I hate to sound him out again, but Diego Rico is frustrating the hell out of me this season because he just cannot. He cannot afford to switch off at key moments, which he does quite consistently. And again, he did it to that. I mean, the ball was a long ball up from Begovic, and then it came back, and he was in the middle of the park. Sam Surridge was at left back. I've no idea how that happened. And then he ambles across, gets into position, and then just completely lets Tony go. I mean, it's just basic schoolboy defending. And no matter how well he played for the rest of the game, you cannot switch off in key games like that. If he did that in the playoff final, I certainly wouldn't be coming on your podcast afterwards.
yeah, that would be really tough.
Norwich have gone 1-0 up against QPR. It's a goal they really needed because Millwall also they're 1-0 down away at Watford. So Watford were 3 points behind Norwich, but now Norwich have pulled away in the live league table by the fact they won that. Thanks for the super chat to Keith Thomas, who said Brentford playing 3 at the back. Discuss. Who wants to take this? Jeremy, should I give this to you?
Oh, you give it to the guy who knows the least about tactics. So great. Well, I guess if you play like they do with 3 at the back, if we could do that, sure, why not? Right? I mean, I think you said do I? I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. I think you said it right.
Well, yeah, and I think one thing that was obvious to me as well is we looked a step slow today. This is a game we look slower than we have the previous 6 or 7, and I think again maybe we were tired. I think what Steve said is great. I think all the changes, there was no continuity like we had, and then we come into this game, we look slower. Brentford looked sharper. Again, there's so many variables here. I don't think we've given them any kind of momentum. I just think it's a bad matchup for us. I'm not scared of them. I just don't like the matchup. I would love a Swansea in the final or a Barnsley, right? But not. I just think it's a bad matchup. But if 3 at the back means we match up well and play well, sure. I don't care if we play 1 at the back. If we play well and win, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Liam, how are you, mate?
Yeah. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you loud and clear. My picture's a bit weird today because of connection issues, but apart from that, I can hear everyone loud and clear. Liam, 1-0 at home against Brentford. How are you feeling?
Not the best match, to be fair.
No.
I thought we missed Kelly. Yeah. I thought we missed Kelly with Danjuma, the ring. And the wingers couldn't really get into the game.
They obviously did a job on Danjuma, didn't they? Because there was at one point he had the ball, there were 3 people crowding around him. And he, so they obviously tried to do as best they could on him. And, Stanislas didn't have a good game. I kind of wonder whether Brooks would have been any better or not. I think maybe we just came up against a side that were, tactically better than us.
Very physical team.
And do you think their sending off was fair?
Yeah. And Ivan Toney was lucky to stay on.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
But we are where we are, mate. We are 4th in the league.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be then? Who's it going to be in the playoffs?
Hopefully it's not Brentford. I think if we get Barnsley in the semis, then Swansea in the final.
Take that, Liam. Take that. Thank you so much for coming on, Liam, mate. Really appreciate it. Cheers, buddy. Up the cherries. Filippo, closing comments then before we end this. What do we need to do? Who do we need to change personnel-wise? What needs to be different ahead of our next game against Wickham, who could be relegated by the time we play them?
Yeah, we're gonna see. But before this game, I wanted to play the youngsters at Wycombe because would have been more likely of a friendly. But now I'd like the team to clinch that fourth place because I want at least that I want at least the second leg of the semi-finals at home with fans as well. And so I'd go maybe for this lineup, the same lineup of today, because was not that bad. It was they were only. I think that they were only a bit tired by the effort they shown. That simply that.
Yeah, I think so.
And also Sam wanted to answer to the question you did to Steve, and that is why Brentford wanted more. I don't think that they wanted it more because to keep the hopes of automatic promotion. I think they wanted it more because they wanted to go as up as possible, and that's what I want from the team in the next 2 games. We only have to get 6 points from Wycombe and Stoke City and see the results elsewhere, how they're gonna go.
Okay, Jeremy, thoughts on who you want to be facing in the playoffs?
Again, probably Swansea, but in a one-off final, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I was just thinking the top 4 currently in the league are truly the top 4 in the league. And so to me, of course, Norwich and Watford, you take those 2 in there up. I'm learning, Sam. I'm learning. And then you got us in Brentford. So again, I think the league, it's funny, after all these games, it's actually played out the way it should, right? Really, the top 4 are the top 4. And it's a coin flip. And before I go, Sam, I'm curious, what are you drinking today? I notice you're not drinking Budweiser, which is great. And I'm the American here, and I can't stand Budweiser. So what are you having today?
It's Staropramen, which is Czech beer. Like, although you don't actually find much Staropramen in Prague, it's more Pilsner.
Is it
Pilsner Urkel, Staropramen's from Prague. Yeah, so that's a nice
drop
beer,
that, Sam.
Yeah, I drank it.
Yeah, I love it.
When I traveled to Prague.
Well, just so you know, I'm being in Western North Carolina, near the Asheville, North Carolina area, which is a very big microbrew area, huge. I mean, there's over 100 breweries within a 5-10 mile radius. So would love to get together with you guys when we
when we invited over then.
Listen, you guys.
I want to go on a brewery tour.
Hey, listen, if you could get a plane ticket to come over here, come on, man. I'll take you on the tour. I'd love to see you guys. So
everybody to Jeremy's house.
Yeah, man. The wife would love that, I'm sure.
Live podcast from your living room. Love it.
That would be awesome. So
thanks Jeremy. Really, what I'll do is I'll keep you on into the end. My connection's bad because my pitch is awful because where I am, Sam. But Steve, thoughts on tomorrow, mate? Sunday night, Littledown. How's it going to go?
I was just thinking to myself, we haven't got a game tomorrow. Well, we're going to. There's a big miss apparently. You're not playing, so.
Well, we got 8. We got 8 for a 6-a-side. There's no point, is there? I'll be doing podcast stuff, I think.
Well, the Twinkle Toes Toby's back, so hopefully that might add a little bit of finesse to our game. But we'll see. We'll see. I think
in terms of Bournemouth.
Yeah, going back to us, what the most important thing is now is we need to just get back on that winning bike. And, in the next game, we have to, I think Jonathan has, maybe we just keep this one as a blip. It was a bad day at the office all round, bad decisions. I didn't think we played very well. It was a little bit of a mess, I thought, from start to finish. But we need to just get back on that bike, get winning again, get a little bit of momentum going into those playoffs. Because we don't want this to play heavy on our minds, and we certainly don't want to let them think they've got a psychological edge over us, because I think that is key. I really do.
Absolutely. Thanks for everyone who's tuned in today, guys. Really appreciate it during the watch along and for this show as well. And for the last 3 words of the show, I'm not going to say them myself, but I'll give them to Filippo down there. Go on then, Filippo.
Up the cherries in all departments.